Hi guys, I will start talking about the organization of international business today. As we discussed before this week, what we have done until now, let's do a quick review. We have discussed about, I've explained you about the globalization, international business environment, what can impact the international business, and then we started talk about market entry modes, and then we have seen how a company can expand to another country, what are these ways, and then we started talk about the strategy, because after talking about all these strategies and essential steps to understand what is the direction of the company while expanding to another country, and then we talk about corporate level strategy, and then business level strategy to understand the company's strategies to be successful in one market. And then we talk about the functional level strategies, which was about which department the company need, what is the optimum level to structure the departments, because for the companies, what was the aim first? To make profit. In order to increase the profit, every company needs to focus on what is the optimum level to structure the business. If a company is focusing on local strategy, the company doesn't need to have a research and development department, because it's an additional cost, adds up to the total cost of the company. These are some examples. And now we will talk about the organization of business. This part very integrated to business level strategies and the functional level strategies. Because in this part we are trying to outline the structure of the company. Essentially, we are trying to understand which model is the best, which model can fit to the business level strategy that company identified in the beginning, because there are some type of organizational structures, different type of structures fits to different strategy of the company. Not every model fits in every company. We have a term here, organizational architecture and organizational structure. These are the same things, but let me explain what is organizational structure. First, I'm going to talk about a couple terms about organizational architecture and organizational structure, and then I will provide you how many types we have, which types that company can choose while they're expanding to another country or in the home country, which type of business, which type of international business structure they can have. Sorry. While talking about organizational architecture, we have three conditions for superior enterprise profitability, which means to increase the profitability of the company. First, we need to think about different elements of a firm's organizational architecture must be internally consistent. As I say in the beginning, the organizational architecture should fit with the different elements of a firm's organizations, like what is the strategy, what is the aim of this company, what is the direction of this company. These are all should fit each other. And in the second part, organizational architecture must match or fit the strategy of the firm, like strategy and architecture must be consistent. And the third one is strategy and architecture of the firm must not only be consistent with each other, but also make sense given the competitive conditions prevailing in the firm's market. Strategy, architecture, and the competitive environment must all be consistent. Because what we were talking about from the beginning of our lecture, from the first week, we said that a company should follow within a consistent structure. If a company is aiming to be the market leader, and then a company should produce a product within matching with this aim, matching with this strategy. These are all should be fit each other. And organizational architecture, organizational structure is the important one that should fit in the strategy and the aim of the company. And organization structure, we can identify like the totality of a firm's organization, including formal organizational structure that we are going to talk about this mainly. Control systems, every company has a control system in order to see whether the target is realizing or not. Are they in the same track as they planned in the beginning, or they need to change something? And incentives, organizational culture, processes, and people. These are all part of our organizational architecture. An organizational structure is determined by the formal division into subunits, the location of decision making, and the coordination of activities of subunits. The location of decision making is saying us, is that company centralized or decentralized? Who's making the decision? Who's holding the right to make a decision, final decision? Is that decision coming from the headquarters, or all the subunits are making their own decision? These are distinctive between centralized and decentralized companies. And then this is our chart to show how the organizational architecture works. And we have three systems, as we said in the beginning: a control system, incentives, processes. Our control system metrics used to measure performance of subunits. We are making this having this control system in order to see whether organizational architecture works or not. And incentives is the devices used to rule managerial behavior, and processes is the manner in which decisions are made and work is performed. These are a bit detailed. Don't focus on this. I'm giving this information, but you should focus on more what are type of organizational structure in international business that we're going to talk in a minute. And in organizational culture, norms and values shared by employees. Every organization has their own culture. Every company has their own culture, which is very essential to follow, because every company has its own routine and norms and values. When they do merge with another company, as we discussed in tutorials a lot, there might be some problems, there might be some issues if they don't understand each other, if they don't understand their organizational culture in depth, in further details. And organizations are societies of individuals who come together to perform collective tasks. And distinct patterns of culture and subculture might affect adversely or the other way around. It might be a positive or negative impact on an organizational culture. That's why it is important to understand the group of culture in that organization. And people include employees and strategies to recompensate and retain them. And people is a part of organization architecture that includes strategy to recruit, compensate, and retain employment. We are going to talk about that people part again in international human resources management. That's why I'm not going to give you further detail about people, because it's another chapter. And within organizational structure, a firm's structure is determined by its strategy. First, you need to understand, you need to clarify what is the strategy of a company, and then you can identify firm structure. Firms pursue aggressive growth to attain scale of economies. With multiple locations, firm structure change to support the expansion strategies. And the firm structure needs to fit with the firm's strategy and degree of internationalization to be successful. What we are trying to say here, firms might prefer to aggressively grow within a one form of organizational structure, which is strategic business unit. They can prefer this to obtain high economies of scale in multiple locations in order to be successful in various locations in the world. They can prefer this type of organizational structure, or they can prefer another one. We will talk what types are there. And we have three dimensions how we can expand our organizational structure. The first one is vertical differentiation, and the second horizontal, and the third one integrating mechanisms. The vertical differentiation is the centralization and decentralization of decision-making responsibilities, and in the horizontal differentiation is the division of the firm into subunits. An integrating mechanism is that for achieving coordination between subunits within an organization. And in a vertical differentiation, let's talk about what is centralization and decentralization. When I'm saying vertical differentiation, you should first think who's making the decision, who's holding the power to make the final decision. Vertical differentiation is more about decision-making systems. And if a company is benefiting from centralized management system, let's see what are the benefits, because there are some benefits that in the centralized management system that companies enjoy. The first one, within centralized management system, they can facilitate this system can facilitate coordination and integration of operations. And within centralized system, it's a bit easier to organize and integrate the operations easily because you're controlling everything from one center. That's why that center is aware of what's happening in other subunits. And the second one is it helps to ensure that decisions are consistent with organizational objectives. The risk of making wrong decision or inconsistent decision is lower in centralized management system because it is all decisions are controlled in one place and they are easily checking these decisions whether it fits with organizational objectives or not. That's why centralized companies are really good at this. And the third one, this centralized management systems or organizational structure gives top-level managers the means to bring change. What is saying top-level managers, they do the decision. They can change, they can make a decision on change on the strategy of the business, or they can make a new decision or changing their location of business. They are making all the decisions, top-level managers, not the lower-level managers. That's important when you're thinking about centralized and decentralized organization structure. Top manager has right, top manager has control. And in this system, it avoids the duplication of activities that occurs when similar activities are carried on by various subunits. And what it says, if a company is decentralized, every subunit might have the similar activities to make a decision, the similar management problems or issues, and every subunits are dealing with these ones. But if the management system or decision-making system is centralized, then they don't have this issue because all decisions are made within one system, within one center. That's why the activities are not duplicated. And decentralized systems. Within decentralized management systems, this gives top management time to focus on critical issues by delegating more routine issues to lower level managers. The top management system, they are more dealing with maybe we can say expansion of engineer a market or changing the strategy or very highly risky decisions. I don't know, let's say anything which is much more critical. And then lower level managers are dealing with the routine things, routine decisions. They're making their own decisions. Of course, they are reporting at the end of the day, but they have a right to make a decision for their subunit. And this model has a motivational research favors decentralization in this model. And the third one is permits greater flexibility because every subunit manager has a flexibility to make a decision within a reasonable limits, and this can result in better decisions. This is quite arguable. Like in some cases, yes, subunit managers can make a better decisions because this is their unit and they know their unit. But in some cases, we cannot say that if they are not following the total company, the whole company objectives and the aims. Because in this kind of mechanism, decentralized decision-making processes, sometimes subunits managers can skip the general aim or can skip the whole company success. They can focus on more on subunits success. This is another risk, but it's not given here. I'm just giving extra that one. And in this system, it can increase the control because every subunit manager, they are controlling their own unit, own business unit. Yeah, that's why it can increase the control within every unit. And there's another thing, if you are focusing on global strategy and centralization, there are a couple of things that we need to consider, like decision regarding overall firm strategy, major financial expenditures, financial objectives, and legal issues are typically centralized at the firm's headquarters. And operating decisions such as those relating to production, marketing, research and development, and human resource management may be decentralized. What we are saying that companies sometimes they prefer applying both systems, centralized and decentralized business models, because it's not all the time easy to follow only one type for every unit of your business. I guess, like it said here, like operating decisions might be made by the subunit managers, which is a lot easier. It also saves time. It also saves the manager also keeps the control within that business unit, and then the other top managers in the headquarters can focus on bigger issues. That's why we say centralization and decentralization can be applied in one business model together in different stage of the business. I also put here another source of explanation, which is comparing centralization and decentralization. If you read it, you can see that some companies, they apply both systems, like centralization and decentralization. It also gives an example here, like numerous US businesses have stumbled after setting up shop in China because they try to maintain centralized control from abroad. This has been especially problematic in industries in which responsiveness to market conditions is critical. Both Google and eBay, for instance, have struggled in China because small local rivals have been more nimble in responding to customer preferences. What it says here, if a company, in this example, the companies has run by centralized model, centralized decision-making model, they had difficulties when they are in another market like Asia, because their responses to the cases happening in China could be a little bit slower than expected, or could be a little bit limited because they don't know the market that much. That's why being decentralized at this stage is very vital. And also it says that Amazon, on the other hand, acquired a major online Chinese retailer called Joyo.com. Amazon founder and CEO Jeff Bezos vowed to not repeat the mistakes of other firms, but instead insist that the local Joyo.com managers have a great deal of discretion and control over how they respond to the peculiarities in Chinese market, because what he thought, what he observed, the other companies made a mistake, and Jeff Bezos didn't want to do this. That's why he hired someone local, or local company, and then he solved the problem easily or practically. That gives him another strength in the market. That's why centralization and decentralization makes different. And we have an example here about centralization and decentralization. As everyone knows, that company Universal Music Group, they changed their centralized, global strategy to decentralized strategy. Let's see why they did this. This is a very big multinational company. It's a global company. Why they felt that they should change their strategy. In 2015, UMG chairman and CEO Lucien Grange announced that the new board and structure, the aim of which is to strengthen the company's ability to operate its business across 60 countries more nimbly, and to position the music giant for continued growth as the most commercial, successful, and creatively diverse music-based media and entertainment company in the world, according to his statement. What he's planning to do here, he's trying to control every local market or every different market with their own rule. That's why they changed their strategy from centralized to multi-domestic. I assume probably they have seen their centralized strategy didn't work in every market, especially for the entertainment business, which is very every entertainment business having its own rules and own cultural background, especially let's say when you're listening to music, probably you're listening the music from your own culture, own background, and which makes different. Like let's say an Asian person, they listen different music, but American person listens different music. They have different tastes and preferences, especially when it comes to entertainment. That's why to understand every market better for this kind of business, it is a good decision to decentralize because it's highly linked to the cultural background. It's highly linked to the people's taste and preference. It is a bit hard to understand the people outside of their country. That's why global strategy doesn't work all the time for this kind of entertainment business. That's why they change it. And let's focus on more the design of structure. This is what I say in the beginning. We say it here, horizontal differentiation, because we talk about vertical differentiation, and now we will talk about horizontal differentiation. This is which is concerned with how the firm decides to divide itself into subunits. This is much more the crucial things in that recording that you should pay attention, because I believe you will apply these models in assignment 3. That's why it is understand what are the functions of these structures. We first explained what it can be centralized and decentralized companies and decentralized business unit, what it can be, how we can manage it. In this horizontal differentiation, we will talk about how centralized company can fit in these models, these structures, or how decentralized can fit in these structures. And you will understand what is the simple functional division and the other structures in international business. And functional structure, let me say that what it is, that functions reflecting the firm's value creation activities. And we talk about this functional structure in last week. It's last week's lecture, I think so. And product division structure, also each division is responsible for a distinct product line. It's a business area. What I'm giving here, function and business level strategy detail a bit here, because they are all linked to defining the structures, understanding which structure fit in which functional and business level strategy. But let's examine what are these, and it's better to go through with the structure types. The first structure is a simple, and the second one is functional, and the third one multi-divisional. We say sometimes M division, and there's a matrix model. I didn't write it here, but we will talk about matrix as well. Let's start with simple structure. What is simple structure? That's the basic structure of international business model. But let me see what. Yep. A simple organization structure is typical of new venture. This structure is often associated with family-owned businesses. A firm with several hundred employees may still maintain a simple organizational structure, particularly in slower-moving or less complex product market. This is like one family business. They're producing one very simple product, not the complex one. This is important here, because as the product is getting more complex, and then the business model is changing. This is, you can assume, very simple model, the family business can be, and then very, very less complex product market they are dealing with within this structure. This is the illustration how it works. There's a simple structure. That's a founder, and we have a CEO. And by the way, I say something, yeah, in the simple structure, so I forgot to say that, in the simple structure, you cannot do export. That's why simple structure is domestic. It's not international. I'll write it here, then you can always remember. This is domestic, not international. Because in simple structure, you cannot do export. Okay. And then, yeah, we write this. Is that still recording? Yeah, it's recording. And then this is domestic. Simple one is domestic. And then, in simple structure, the founder or CEO can monitor all expenses actions closely. The employees feel themselves as part of the team. Because it's, as I say in the beginning, it's the basic structure that one company with one founder or CEO who owns the company, family mostly we can say family business is running within the structure, and they are not producing something very complex. Maybe they are producing just one spare part of one final product, or maybe just they are doing very simple service business. These are very small structured businesses. They are mostly having we call them mostly small or medium scale companies, but don't forget this, these are domestic, these are not international because they are not doing export. And what are the drawbacks of simple structure? Every structure, by the way, we are going to talk about this. Every structure has advantages and disadvantages. In simple structure, it's easy to monitor every employee. It's easy to understand what they need or what is the problem happening within the company. It is easy to observe it, but there are some drawbacks here. As the business grows and gains more customers than employees, a simple structure can result in the founder and CEO being overwhelmed with details and being unable to focus on all the key elements. This is again about the resources of the company, because within this, when we are looking at these resources or capabilities of this structure, we see that there is a one founder CEO who's doing most of the job, but the business is growing, and then his resources and capabilities is getting limited because he needs to hire someone and to grow more because he cannot do everything at once as the business grows. And the simple structure can often hinder growth because the founder is limited in his or her ability to address numerous firm details, because we don't know this founder's background or CEO's background. Maybe he is not really good at the financial and accounting things. Then this can limit to observe or to monitor the growth of the company or aim more, because every company has a roadmap and to see the future, to keep growing in the future. But if a founder of the CEO of this company, this particular company, which is operating in simple structure, if that person doesn't have ability to aim more or to focus on growth of company, then this company cannot grow more. This company can stuck at some point. That's why we say in the simple structure, the growth of the business is all linked to the person who founded the company, who run the business. This is all linked to the person's ability. It's all linked to that person's capacity. That's why simple structure has some disadvantages at this stage. And the second model, as I say in the beginning, simple structure is the basic one. Within this structure, we can say this can be family business or like a one CEO business. They are mostly doing very less complex product, and then or service. They are producing service, and they are they are working within a very small team, and they have some drawbacks. As I say, they cannot monitor the growth of company professionally and effectively. Maybe they are a little bit stuck at the level that the CEO, founder of the company's abilities. They cannot grow. Maybe they are not growing as what the potential of the company. Maybe they have limited within the person's capacity. But in functional structure, the structure is getting a little bit different, and this structure, in functional structures, we can talk about being international. We can talk about doing some international business, because this structure, we can say, yes, it is, we are able to export within this structure, functional structure. As a firm grows, it may find that it needs greater coordination. A firm often will move to a functional organization structure. What we say in a simple structure, this is limited because one person is running the company and doing most of the job, and then he decided or she decided maybe yes I can go for functional structure and I can get departments, and then the company can grow more or the company can aim more. Let's say they can change their strategy. They can say, okay, we are producing 1,000 units this year, but change the structure in accordance with this strategy change, and let's produce 2,000 units this year, and then next year more, and then firm grows. The firm organizes itself around the organization's major functions. Functional structure, again, is not, we cannot talk about full functional structures. We cannot talk about multinational corporations within this structure. The company is still small or small or medium scale, but bigger than simple structures. The functional structure is not used by international firms that have operation in large numbers of countries. Instead, those firms will have a matrix organizational form. Matrix organizational form is different. I will explain later. But what I'm trying to say here, if a company have, let's say, if a company have 5 different factories in 5 different countries and large operations, we cannot say they are having functional structures, because functional structure is not addressing all these business, is not covering all these business units. That's why we cannot say that. Functional structure, you can think it's a one more step than simple structures. The simple structure is very basic domestic one. When a firm, company, or whatever, the manufacturing or service industry decided to have like a systematic or like a decided to have a functions like a unit, business unit or departments within the company, yes, they can go for functional structure, like they are having marketing department, export department, accounting department, and then they allocated the decision-making process to different departments. Yes, this is functional structure, but still small. They are not that much big. Yes, this is the typical functional structure illustration. Like they have purchasing, manufacturing, marketing, and the finance department, and top management. Again, this is small or medium scale. They are not extra. They are not doing mass production, or they are not serving all around the world as a global company. They are doing some small international business, but not that much high volume. This is another illustration, like as I say, if a functional structure domestic, and then like you see there's no export department, and then it turns to international and they are adding export department in their business, still small but working internationally. And the other type, at this stage it's getting a bit bigger, like a divisional structures we had here. As a firm grows, it may find that the various parts of the business are too large to effectively coordinate with a simple functional structure. Firm develops a multi-divisional or M-division structure. In an M-division structure, the firm is divided into different divisions, sometimes along product lines, each of which has its own international set of functional areas. In divisional structures, what we say, we had a simple one, functional one, and then divisional structures. Divisional structures can correspond to the need of international business. You can utilize this structure as the company grown, like as a company had a substantial high volume of manufacturing or service business. Yes, then you can have divisional structures at this stage, because M division can cover the need of international business at this stage by having a different business unit for let's say for each product line or for each geographical region. I will explain what we are saying. We have an example here. Where's the example? I put it here. But before example, let's explain a little bit more. But let's have a short break here. Okay, let's move on. what I explained until now, the simple structure of companies, which is a domestic one. You can think of very simple, like a family-owned business. You can think like a local businesses, but they are integrated in very simple structure of business units. Most they are domestic. They are not international because they are not doing any export. But in the other form, the functional level structures, they are able to do the export because they have divisions, they have functional units running in operation of, in the organizational structure of the company, because they have marketing, they might have the marketing department, production department, and the other departments which might fit the business or business structure, like organization structure. In divisional structures, you can think a little bit more complex than functional structures, because in divisional structures, company can allocate their decision-making mechanism in every unit. We can say in different product lines or different geographical units. Because imagine the company is growing. Let's give an example. Like imagine a company start producing like a car parts. First, they started their business producing like a very like a small amount of spare parts they are producing for car manufacturing, and then imagine this company grew enough, and then they started to have a functional structure. In a functional structure, imagine they are producing not only one product, they are also producing engine part of the car, engine parts, some other spare parts, and they are having a functional structure. Within a functional structure, they are able to do export and send their products to another countries. And then, after some time, imagine this spare part manufacturing company decided to start a new business level strategy, and they decided to have a divisional structure because they are now producing a car. And then they might utilize the divisional structure. They might say, okay, we're going to have divisional structure, and then we will have business units for every product lines. I will give you detail about this product lines. That's why the company can develop a multi-divisional structure, or we say in general divisional structure. In an M division structure, the firm is divided into different divisions, like sometimes long product lines, each of which has its own internal set of functional areas. Let's say we have 4 different product lines in one company, let's say ABC, and this ABC has their own functional areas, which means that they are making their own decisions. What we say in the beginning, centralized and decentralized decision-making systems works in this divisional structure, like in let's say in Division A, they are making their own decisions. In Division B, again, they are making their own decisions, which means that they are getting more decentralized. What we started from simple structure, they are more centralized. In a functional structure, yes, we can say they are centralized. But in divisional structure, and we have another one, strategic business unit, they are more decentralized. Their decision-making mechanism is getting away from the center. They are holding the power, the level of autonomy, the level of control within that business unit. They are holding this power. And then let's see. Within, again, this horizontal differentiation, I put another explanation here, like what kind of divisional structure we have. In worldwide array structure, in this one I have just classified by geographic division, because in divisional structure one company can have geographic divisions or product divisional structure. In that geographic division model structure, it is favored by a firm with a low degree of diversification and a domestic structure based on functions. What is that? I can say, if I had a company and if I had a divisional structure, geographical divisions, I can say that Asian geographic divisions That's the one group, and America is another group, and Oceania, like Australia, is another group, and Europe is another group. What I'm doing, I'm dividing my units, my business units, based on the location. And in this, as it explained here, when it happened, I mean, when these geographic divisions happen, we can say that in this model, they are obtaining domestic structure based on the functions, like they are mostly decentralized from the center, and they are having their own business unit within every geographic divisions. And for the product divisional structure, this is favored by firms that are reasonably diversified and originally had domestic structures based on product divisions. Helps overcome coordination problems. Within product divisional structure, every product lines has their own core competence, has their own key area, which makes them compete. They can compete with each other. I will give you an example again from the car manufacturing. But in a product divisional structure, every product has its own organizational structure, we can say that, and they might compete with each other. This is seen in the world. There are examples about this. But in geographic divisions, you can think like domestic structure based on functions, like they are doing their own business. I mean, they are running by their own area manager, but their product diversification is lower than product division structure. Like I can say that they are more or less serving the same product to different geographic divisions. They don't diversify the product. Let's say Nestle, chocolate company, or the other chocolate companies again. But I remember Nestle now. But anyway, they have geographic divisions structure. They allocate all the business units all around the world. Let's say they have one unit in Europe, one unit in America, one unit in like Asia. They have low degree of diversification, like you can find the same chocolate in all around the world, more or less same. Maybe they diversify very slightly, but majorly they don't change the product, but they are having geographic divisions to utilize the model. But product division is much more complex and much more different. Okay, the illustration is here, and the typical product divisional structure is explained here. There's one headquarter, and for every division they have different product line, division product line A, B, C, and they are linked to the purchasing department, manufacturing department, marketing department, but their product line, their production line is completely different than each other. They might be they are financed from the same department, or their purchasing department is shared, but the production line is different. And this is also company's international division structure. That's another illustration how it works, like a domestic division they have, and the country 1 and 2. This is like about geographic division. And this is another illustration if you like to check. Again, this is domestic, I'm going to skip it, but we have international one. In international model, you see clearly here division A, because in some models, in some divisional structures, every division has their own department, as it's shown here, but in some models they don't have different departments. They are sharing the departments, like a purchasing, marketing, manufacturing for the plants, but they have a different product lines. But in some models we have this. This model says division A is completely have different marketing, finance, and accounting, manufacturing department. This can happen there, but essentially for divisional structure, you can think there's two divisional structure we can have. The first one, geographic, the location differs, but the product is more or less same. The second one is product division structures, which means that every division, A, B, C, D, produce different products. They might be run by the one headquarter, one center, but they have different different functional units they have. Okay, the example will make it clear for you now. The example is from General Motors, and all the brands were competing in the middle of the market. For General Motors example, before they had divisional structure, their brands brands marketing or brands promoting was not very successful, because as it's stated here, the pricing of the individual products or each product were overlapping between each other, like the overlap between the brands and the potential for significant competition among the divisions and confusion for the customers. Like, for example, if I have 1,500 US dollar, which car I can buy within this figure? I can go for Auckland or Oldsmobile, or if I have a little bit more, I can go for ships in both, any car in between, or Chevrolet I can buy. I have lots of options. Within this model, competing between the brands is not significantly separated. They are overlapping. Individual structures within the product divisional, what we say, brands under the same company, brands can compete with each other, but they should compete in a consistent level, not like this, because this can confuse the customer. This is not very successful pricing, or this is not very successful product divisional. That's why customers can say, no, I'm not gonna get this because I feel confused. They can go for another brand. But what happened then? The Alfred Sloan is very famous with this model. He changed the system. He said that I will change the system into this. This is the organizational chart of General Motors created by Alfred Sloan. He said that we are going to have divisional product units. Every product line will have its own functional units, and then they will produce different products. And of course, they're going to differentiate between each other in relation to pricing. And then with this model, the company gain a lot of profit in the market. Let's see what happened. New pricing scheme was developed along with the full separation of the divisions to allow them to operate relatively autonomously. He said that let's divide it and let's see how it's going to change in the market. What will the reaction? How customer will react this price change? And within the company within the factory production, they divided in the lines. Okay, the previous one I explained like all pricing, what we were overlapping, and then after 1920, under Alfred Sloan new divisional model, Chevrolet price in between 450, 600, and Pontiac is like a 600 around something. But you see the prices are very different than each other. I mean, if you have $1,000, you can prefer, your choices are limited. You can go for Oldsmobile if you have $1,000, because it's in between, like 900 to 1,200. Yeah, you can prefer this. Or if you like to stay a little bit more, you can prefer Pontiac. But you have two options, not three, which has limited the options, which has limited the confusion. That's why the regional structure is good for the companies like automobile manufacturing companies to have each product run with its own structure, with own functional units, in order to separate these products between each other, and then to see their profitability clearly. That's why it is good to obtain this model for example, this kind of manufacturing industries. And this model was very successful in that time. And division structure proved beneficial to General Motors, which allowed each division to operate more efficiently in a given business area. and to develop expertise specific to its technology and markets. In addition, the cost structure of the divisions were such that the cars could be priced differently without confusing consumers. And the other thing, some models are taken out from the list, as you see. For example, Sheridan is taken out; it's no more exists. Probably after they identified this model, they thought that okay, we cannot keep this model because it's so similar to other models. That's why they took it out. They focused on only 5 models to see how it goes and what is the profitability of each model. And also the example continues. In 1999, General Motors has drifted away from this careful positioning domestically, allowing considerable overlap between its brands and low levels of cross-divisional cooperation. As of 1990s, General Motors brands once again showed considerable overlap, resulting in confusion for customers and less than helpful competition among its cars divisions. Again, they had the same problem as they had 75 years ago, and they lost the market share because the price overlapping is the biggest issue for product divisional structures. The headquarters should be carefully examining the market structure and the pricing, and then distinguishing all the models, what they produce in the factory, and to market it for that specific area. They should be careful, but they lost the track. They lost this structuring model. They lost the careful positioning, price positioning, and then again they lost their market share. And there are some drawbacks in divisional structure as we listed for the other models as well. It duplicates organization functions. Then it can be costly. And lack of coordination between divisions. As we get an example from General Motors, what you have seen, there is a lack of coordination here because they lost the track. They start overlapping again. They start competing. The competition between these models started again very uncontrolled because the headquarter was not able to control the pricing. Then it end up again this problem and end up losing the share of the market. And as I say, if there's a lack of coordination between divisions, then this model should not be utilized because it can create a bigger mess for the companies, bigger problem for the international companies, and problems with sharing resources and capabilities. Because what we say in the beginning, every product line has its own functional units, and then this might create the issue when time comes to share the resource and capabilities within the lines. The unit managers or who is running that lines can be reluctant to share these resources because they're also competing with each other. That's why controlling all these units, business units, carefully and closely is very crucial if a company is applying product division structure. And the other one we have, strategic business unit. Strategic business unit is much more complex than functional and then divisional models because we have another layer in between headquarter of company and the units. Strategic business unit is a business division within a larger firm that is charged with managing a particular category of product or service. We can think that in strategic business unit, every strategic business unit has own divisional structure, and under that they have every division has their own functional units. Strategic business units creates another layer of management to handle the complexity. What you have seen until now, the layer of management is increasing from simple structure to strategic business unit. In simple structure, we cannot talk about any layer of management because there's only one CEO. And then in functional, yes, we can talk about one layer of management because there's a head and there's a departments, most probably departments as a manager. Yes, we can talk about one layer. And the second layer is added in divisional one. Because what we have seen in divisional one, every division has a manager, and then every functional unit has a manager. We had another layer of management, and then in strategic business unit, there's another layer. I will show you that. And this allows for greater ease and speed in decision making because every strategic business unit managers makes their own decision. They are running own decision making process. Because in this unit, we cannot talk about centralized decision making because strategic business unit works for only a company which is large and global. And this prompt responsiveness to customers because within this model, decision making process allocated to units, they can respond quickly to the customers because they don't have to they don't have to check with the center of the headquarter of the company because every unit has their own right to manage. And better management of organization's time and focus. This allows each strategic business unit to develop the special skills necessary for its businesses. This is the more decentralized model. But of course, every strategic business unit report to headquarter and then check. They do yearly or quarterly check and control mechanism within this unit. But mostly for daily and routine decision making is made by the strategic business unit managers. This is the general illustration, and it can be more complex. What we say, there's one headquarter here. And it goes into strategic business divisions. Like we can say strategic business unit A is producing like a dairy product, like a cheese, yogurt or something. And second strategic business unit, we can say that this is producing entertainment product or another one, another type of product. And they should be all different. They cannot produce same product within A, B, C, D within strategic business unit, and it is another management layer. And then within the divisions, again they are dividing their product lines or geographical. This is all depends on the structure of business, each business. I will give you one example about this. But within this organizational structure, you can think, yes, it is decentralized and it covers very large and global structure. This is not a simple structure. This business structure cannot fit in small or medium scale companies. The company should be large and global. Okay, our example is here. And this is the French luxury products firm LVMH, which produces over 50 different brands and having 5 different strategic business units. Let's see what are these. The first one, fashion and leather goods and strategic business units. And the second one, wine and spirits. Third one, perfumes and cosmetics. And the fourth one, watches and jewelry. And the fifth one, self retailing, like a duty-free shops and Sephora and other brands. Like they have 5 distinctive. They are all different than each other. Strategic business unit. And when you're looking at this illustration, we can say that, like for example, fashion and leather goods fits here. And then wine and spirits is the second one, and the perfume and cosmetics is here. And then they have divisions, subdivisions here. Like, I assume they had a geographical divisions. I don't know exactly, but I assume that because these are all the brands, like a Louis Vuitton is all over the world. That's why I believe they have a division here like Asia, Europe, and America, because mostly they are serving one identical product all over the world. And for the wine and spirits, I can say the same thing. Let's say wine and spirits are here. What they have Dom Perignon, Champagne, and it can fit here. I mean, for these divisions, like I'm assuming again geographical divisions, it goes under this, which shows that this company is run by strategic business unit. They are reporting to headquarters, and then every division reports to their strategic business unit, their leader. Let's say like Louis Vuitton Europe is reporting their strategic business unit manager, not the headquarter directly. They first report to them, and then every strategic business unit manager reports to the headquarter. This is the decision-making chain, goes through, not decision-making chain, sorry. This is the reporting chain, because decisions are made by every strategic business unit manager and the division manager by themselves for the routine and the daily decisions, like regular decisions, not the big decisions, not the critical ones, because critical decisions are made by the headquarters here and the strategic business unit managers. Okay, and then this is very complex model. And what are the issues about this model? Of course, it works for global and the large-scale companies, but of course it has some disadvantages. First, it is a complex process to develop. It is not that much easy to control, because within this illustration, even this example, you can see 50 different brands. It's not that much easy to control these brands, and each brand has their own value in the market. Each brand should be controlled and improved carefully. That's why it's not easy to handle this complex system. And then this might create a competition within the company, which is what we talk about this in, we also talk about this in General Motors example. If pricing strategy is not carefully identified, or it's not carefully positioned in the market, for each product's prices is not, if it's not very carefully positioned in the market, this can create uncontrolled competition within the company, which is a big problem. And then, as we see in General Motors, they ended up with a big issue within 75 years. They couldn't control closely, and then they lost the truck. Again, the final product is competing with each other within the same company, and which leads to confusion. And customer cannot easily make a decision between these products. They can easily prefer the other company's product when they confuse. That's another problem. That's why in strategic business units, the products should be positioned very carefully in the market in order to avoid the problem, because of the problem of competition problem, the pricing problems. And it can be challenging to implement. That's important, because it's a very challenging model, because it's not easy to control 50 different brands or more under the one structure. And it's a costly, which repeats itself for the organization. For example, when we look at here, of course it's costly because headquarters has, for example, here 4 different units, and then divisions has another managers, and then under this, like let's say marketing department, production department has different managers, and it's very costly. This every layer of management adds up the cost. I mean, the cost is increasing as another management layer adds onto the structure. Okay. And then metrics. Metrics is much more complex and not very, I cannot say 100% successful model, because it has a lot of drawbacks. But let's talk what it is. Global metric structure is the horizontal differentiation proceeds along 2 dimensions. I mean, under this structure, horizontal differentiation has 2 dimensions. The first one, product division, and the other one, geographic area. You can think in this model, product division and geographic area differentiation, or geographic area division, they correspond to each other. They're crossing each other in this model. In global matrix structure, we are applying two different structure. I'll show you that. And dual decision making is happening here, often clumsy and bureaucratic. It's a hybrid structure combining different organizational forms, leads to conflict as employees have two managers. A firm may employ a matrix that employs a functional structure in which the departments report to the country manager as well as to the heads of functional areas. That's why this model is quite confusing, and mostly employees don't feel very they don't feel very understanding all these bureaucratic and hierarchical issues in this model, because it's hard. You have to follow two managers system, two managers order or requirements, because you need to deal with them as an employee. And it allows fast decision making by tying different aspects of the business together. This is the matrix model. This is quite complex, but we have another. This is explaining better. We have one headquarter here, as always. We have three different array illustration here. We can say area 1 is Asia, area 2 is America, area 3 is Europe. What we say in divisional model, forget about this section. What we say, every area is a division, or every area is creating a strategic business unit. But in a matrix structure, we have these areas as well. We have product divisions. Let's say car manufacturing, let's say spare part manufacturing and others. And here, let's say here, whoever the manager here, reporting area 2 manager, like this can be America, like a Latin America manager or American manager or area manager, and also this person is reporting product division B manager as well. This might create duplication, and conflict between these two can make it harder for employees or managers to run the business. And we have one example here from your textbook, and this is in this example. Global matrix didn't work. There is one company, the chemical industry, their managers insisted that the part of credit should be placed at the feet of its matrix organization. Like those organization matrix had three interacting elements. They had three parts, like a function, business, and geography. And in the functions, they had R&D, research and development, manufacturing, marketing, all the functions run. And the business, they have divided by the products like plastics and pharmaceuticals. And in the geography, they divided like Spain, Germany, and Brazil, and so on. They had a lot of divisions here. But they are having a matrix. That's why one person should report geography manager, business manager, and the functions manager as well, three different reporting works here. And managers' job titles incorporated all three elements. For example, plastics marketing manager for Spain, and most managers reported at least two bosses. The plastic marketing manager in Spain might report to both the head of the worldwide plastic business and the head of Spanish operation. This makes they work harder at the same time, because they have to report all these different managers all over the world. This duplicates the work. The intent of the matrix was to make the operations responsive to both local market needs and corporate objectives. What they try to do here, they try to have a local market, they try to run the local market closely by that, let's say, Spanish manager. They had that small geography. At the same time, who is controlled by that, let's say, what we say here, who's controlled by, let's say, plastics business unit manager, which also checked for corporate objectives. They try to control local markets at the same time, corporate objectives closely by the managers, by the experts. That's why they had a global matrix model. Therefore, the plastics business might be charged with minimizing those global plastics production costs, while the Spanish operation might be charged with determining how the best to sell plastics in the Spanish market. As I say, what they try to do, they try to keep under control the market, let's say in Spain, in relation to operations and following all the prices, and then at the same time they try to control global plastic production cost as well. They try to match these models. What happened? It didn't work. This model didn't work. Like multiple reporting channels led to confusion and conflict. The overlapping responsibility resulted in turf battles and a lack of accountability, because if you're reporting one person, one unit, then one decision can be made with this conversation, as a result of this conversation. And imagine yourself, you're also talking with another manager, like as it's in this example explained, plastic production costs in the world, global ones you're talking with, and you're having another decision as well. And then as an employee or as a manager, you need to combine these decisions, and you need to apply these decisions into your business. Then this, of course, this can create confusion and conflict. Someone should control on the top of this business models, but it creates another layer. It creates another decision-making processes within this model, and it slows down the business rather than increasing the efficiency. It slows down all the businesses, all the decision-making chains. That's why this model didn't work here. You can check additionally in your textbook 406, it's in the 406 page. This model explains very well, but of course in the world, I never heard that the global matrix worked, but might work for companies, but mostly companies obtain this model, global matrix model, at the beginning of their expansion. They get this model and then they get rid of this model and try to pass another structure like strategic business unit. For short-term project, global matrix can work, especially constructions business, because for, let's say, you're working for a construction company, they assign you to go to another country, then yes, global matrix can work there. A person, the construction company's employees might have a manager, local manager, and also they are having another manager, like a global manager, checking from both sides. It works for a short-term project, but for the long-term project, it is a bit hard to keep this model going and works for all the business units. It's a bit hard. And how can we decide which structure is right? We talk about simple, functional, divisional, strategic business unit, and the matrix model. But which one is right for the company? How can we decide it? It is generally agreed that there can be multiple forms that can work depending on size of the firm, the diversification in the firm's portfolio of business, and the technology used in the business, nature of stakeholders, and level of internationalization, geographic scope, and the task pursued. Let's see how size can affect the decision of which structure is the best for the company. As a firm's growth in size might be able to secure economies of scale which exist when the average unit cost of a good or service decline as the quantity produced increase. As an organization grows, new management layers are introduced to effectively control various entities. What we say in the beginning, in a simple model, simple structure, it's limited environment. It is, we can say, in a simple structure, the organization is limited by the founder of the company. But as the company grows, as the size is growing, then the need of getting functional model, functional structure appears, and then the model can change, and then we can talk about, yes, simple structure doesn't work anymore, we need to go for departments, We need to have different departments in order to focus, in order to specialize in what we are doing. That's why size is important. As I say in strategic business unit model, if a company is not that much large or global, strategic business unit can be a little bit costly. That's why considering the size of international business is very important. And degree of diversification. A large organization with activities that are strongly related to each other can have a functional structure or divisional structure. If a firm utilizes unrelated diversification or divisional structure might be adopted. If a firm is large and using related diversification and strategic business unit form of organization could be adopted. This is all about what we are producing, how they are related to each other. We need to group what we are having, what we are produced. In the other example, as I said, the French company is having 50 different products, and they grouped this and they had a strategic business unit form because it worked for them very well. They are able to diversify their product lines, their product groups clearly. That's why strategic business unit work for them. And degree of diversification is important at this stage. How many products do you have? How they are diversified from each other, either related or unrelated. Then you can decide, yes, this firm is utilizing unrelated diversification. Yes, division of structure might be adopted. It's better to keep this. But as the products are diversified, you need another layer of management to group all these product groups, product lines like cosmetic, wines, and others, and then you can get strategic business unit. And technology, it's also important to decide which structure, which form is the best for the international company. Like business domains focused on low technology areas tend to function in a standalone capacity. For example, if a firm had steel manufacturing plants in Poland, China, and South Korea, there's a little reason to expect a benefit for making them work together. They cannot work together. And high technology business is closely connected and better integrated as the products developed are created with inputs from across the world. This is a saying that how the technology is shared by the subsidiary company, by the branch unit, by the strategic business unit. That's why it's saying high technology business is closely connected. And it is better to keep them integrated as the products developed are created with inputs across the firms. Like, let's say you're producing high technology mobile or high technology final products, just name it, then mobile phones, laptops, computers. Then for these companies like high technology business, it is better to have divisional structure rather than strategic business unit because they are sharing their technology, they are sharing their knowledge. But in the first example, like low technology, they can function standalone. You can imagine like these are can benefit from geographical divisional model, or because they are not sharing the technology within the lines, within this manufacturing lines. But if the technology is shared or high technology businesses, if the international business is related to high technology business, then it's better to keep them closely connected to each other, each units. And degree of internationals is a firm with a multi-domestic strategy may have a divisional structure organized around the business in the countries in which it operates. What was the multi-domestic strategy? That the company is running every business in different countries with its own strategy. Like one can have low-cost strategy, the other one can have product differentiated strategy. This is multi-domestic, so they are following different strategies in different locations. Then they can have a division structure. This might work there. And a firm with a global strategy will organize around product divisions that cut across national borders. And stakeholders, like the organization structure should satisfy stakeholders' interests. That's the important part, because what headquarters is saying, what stakeholders is saying, what they are willing to support. Are they willing to support the regional unit? Are they willing to pay that much cost for strategic business unit? That's important to understand both sides. And geographic scope is important to decide which structure is right. If a firm is involved in a set of countries that can be subdivided into distinct cultures, then a divisional structure can be adopted to address each one. For example, as I say, European geographical, you can create a division like European, Asian, and American Oceania. You can divide in this, subdivide into these countries. Or even in Europe, we can say North Europe, South Europe, you can subdivide it. And if a firm's international operations are among close nations in both distance and culture, a functional structure may work best. For example, you are running a business in Asia and you are working in, let's say, in India. And then you have another facility in Nepal. You can use functional structure because in terms of distance and the culture, of course, there are some differences, but they have some similarities as well. That's why functional structure that you can use in that region for this example, because you can cut the cost of having another layer of management, then you can benefit from functional structure. In deciding the structure of companies, international business companies, think from this perspective as well to decide which structure is right or the best. Always decreasing the cost, lowering the cost is important. That's why it is important to understand the size of the company. If the size of the company is not that much big or is not that much large, don't think about applying strategic business unit, because strategic business unit structure is highly costly. That's why I'm saying here functional structure can work best for an international company which is not so far away from two countries and they are both sharing the similar cultures. Then it's easy to apply this financial structure model. And the task. We have a distinction here. We are saying mechanistic structures when we are considering the task. Like these are focused on stability and hierarchical decision making. This structure fits in low technology domains and business with a low-cost strategy. This is important. I'm saying low-cost strategy. If we are thinking mechanistic structures, like hierarchical decision making, what it is, centralized decision making. We are talking about low complex product, which is so close to functional structure. And I don't want to say simple structure because simple cannot do export, but think about functional. And mechanistic structures are highly inflexible and static, which is the basic structure. Like when we are thinking about the task, like if a company is producing one unique product, very simple, not complex or less complex, and not requiring very high technology, and the business is seeking a local strategy, then we can say that yes, this is a mechanistic structure in relation to the task, and then we can decide for this company, considering that not requiring higher technology and not and following local strategy, and then highly inflexible and static company structure, then we can say yes, functional can work for this company. And organic structure is opposite of mechanistic because it's more flexible and innovative and able to adapt to its environment. Like it's suitable for environments where change is rapid. We can say technology business, like IT business. Organic structures need highly skilled and motivated employees, which leads to a particular type of organic structure called the learning organization. In this type of task, like imagine from task perspective, one task is so fixed, so static. The other one is a bit innovative and organic. While deciding for these products, for these companies, or which structure is best, for the innovative one, we cannot say functional works, because for this one, the product is unique or changing rapidly, which you need to think about more complex. Then We can say, yeah, functional can work if we have very highly skilled research and development department. But for this one, for this task, organic structure, divisional can work better because divisional creates its own environment, own product lines, and it can grow more. And learning organization concept is so closely associated with Peter Senge, who said a task, identified the task model like an organization must embrace the following 5 disciplines to become a learning organization, which is organic structure, build share vision to achieve a common commitment to long-term results and achievement, and foster the understanding and examination of people's mental models as important to strategic planning and change. And team learning is needed so that the learning is passed on from individuals to the team. Personal mastery is the individual's motivation to learn and become better. Systems thinking allows individuals to see a holistic and systematic view of the organization as a function of its environment. Within this criteria, when you are thinking the task, if product is simple, mechanistic, or if product is organic and the product is like 5 disciplines to become learning organization and produce an organic classified as an organic structure, these 5 disciplines should be realized in that organization. Then we can say yes, task is completed in organic structure. Then we can say the structure is much more fit in divisional or strategic business unit. If a product is static and if it fits in mechanistic structure, then we can say yes, functional, the simplest model can fit for this international business. And if you like to change, implementing change in an organizational structure, how it works, if you like to change the organizational structure, if you say, okay, I want to change my business structure from functional to divisional to strategic business unit, or the other way, like strategic downsizing, like strategic business unit to divisional. There are some fundamental rules to implement change in an organizational structure. Employees should be told why change is necessary. If the company is growing, it's a bit easy to explain to employees. Yes, we are growing. The numbers showing that we doubled our sales compared to last year, and then we would like to go for the divisional model from functional. It's easier to explain, but downsizing is a bit hard to explain. Like when you say, I like to downsize the company from divisional structure to functional structure, then employees can get panicked. They can think that also they will be fired or they will lose their job. It must be ensured that employees are supportive of change. One way to ensure this is to connect the compensation system to change in the structure. And top management and affected units should support the structure change. Otherwise, this cannot happen very healthy or very effectively if top management doesn't support downsizing or growing. The plan regarding how and when the changes to occur should form the backbone of the effort to ensure that those plans are followed. Otherwise, changing the structure can be a big issue for the international companies. It's not easy to create all the departments and the strategic business unit within very specific time. That's why the support from employees and the top management, whoever key persons in that change, is important. They should be informed very well. They should be explained whether why the company structure is growing or why the company is downsizing, what happened, or is that necessary. They should be all informed, and it can create such an environment that these are all informed and they are implementing the change, they are following the change, and then next step can be taken to change the business level strategy as well. While explaining the international business structure, as I say in the beginning, this should fit with the business level strategy, functional strategy, and corporate level strategy. If a company is, let's go from the size, small scale company, which means they're producing very very standard product, very static product, and they're doing export, and they're producing based on local strategy. For this company, small, producing very static product, not requiring high technology, and focused on low cost. They're having, in relation to business level strategy, they're having low cost strategy. What I can say that yes, this company should go for functional structure to save, to decrease the cost of running the company, to decrease the cost of organization of the company. I can say this company go for divisional, but it's not supported by the facts, because what the facts saying that the company is small, static, and focused on low cost. For this company, if I say divisional structure, then what they're going to produce in different divisions? They have only one product, then this is not supported. Functional works for them. That's why it is important to understand the dynamics of the company at the beginning and evaluating the company's current production and the current structure, organizational structure, and then deciding which organizational structure fits for this company better, which can support their business level strategy in near future, like within 5 years. Okay, and then we will do some exercise about this organizational structure in the tutorial. If you have any question, you can ask me anytime about this organizational structure, because it's very crucial to understand this strategic business units and the matrix structure. Matrix can be a little bit complicated, I understand, but the other units, the other models are quite understandable. But if you have any issue, you can let me know anytime. Thanks for listening. Okay, what's that? Okay, no. Okay. Yep, I got it. Thank you guys.